Well, excited to welcome in for our Bob's Discount One-on-One Eagles linebacker, Alex Singleton. Alex, welcome, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, well, let's talk about your background. Before we get into the gridiron and talk about football, take us back to young Alex. What was your first love as a sports fan, or what did you first start playing as a kid?
I played a lot of sports, but always football. Football's been the number one dream my whole life. I have a picture. I don't know how old I was. I know I went from Peter Pan as a 2-year-old. I dressed up every day as Peter Pan, and then at about 2.5, 3, my parents gave me a Cardinals uniform, and I wore a Cardinals uniform about every day until I had to go to school.
All right, back in those days, they were in the same division as the Eagles. We'll forgive that at that point. But who was your favorite player growing up?
I was a Brett Favre fan.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. When you got to middle school, high school, did you play other sports outside of football?
Yeah, I wrestled at one point. I played baseball, and then really those three. And then in high school, it just, after my sophomore year, it was just football.
And were you always a linebacker?
Always a linebacker. I tried to play quarterback for a little bit, and then, that didn't work out, so then it was full-time linebacker.
All right, so take us through your recruiting process for college. How do you end up at Montana State?
It was pretty simple. One school came and only got one offer, so it was kind of best opportunity I got. I went up to Montana for the first time in February. All I had was a snowboard jacket that was probably about as thin as this. So I remember freezing on my recruiting trip, and then I committed that weekend because it was the only offer I had, so I was going.
So the initial plan I had read was that you were going to redshirt your first year, and then you kind of burned that redshirt just because of what you were doing on special teams. Was that something that was kind of the plan going in? Hey, you know what? I'm going to work my way to where they're not going to redshirt me?
That's how you always want to go in, to camp as a college, freshman. But yeah, and it's not like now when if you only play, 5 or 6 games, you get that red shirt year back. So, back then, for them to burn your red shirt, halfway through a season was kind of a big deal. And I just remember one week one of the coaches came up to me and he was like, hey, we need you to play. And that was kind of it. And yeah, I think you always work, to be the best player you can and help your team win. And, it's obviously worked out full circle now, to where I'm at. And so, I'm more than thankful to have done that for that team.
No question. And obviously, you, as you mentioned, it's all kind of worked out to where you've gotten to where you are in the middle of the Eagles defense right now. But take us through now, after college, that pre-draft process leading up. Did you go to all-star games? What was the pro day circuit like? What was that pre-draft process like for you?
Yeah, so no all-star game, none of that. I went straight home. I graduated that winter, so I got to go home right away. And I trained for my pro day, which happened to be in about 3 or 4 inches of snow up in Montana. So, everything just really was real helpful in my recruiting process and then also draft process.
Yeah, the stars really aligned for you. So you go. It was Seattle, New England.
Yeah, and then back to Seattle a few times here and there, and then the last few weeks was in Minnesota, and then eventually they released me right before OTAs.
Was there a player early on during that time that you kind of connected with early and then kind of hey, I'll show you the ropes kid kind of situation?
What was awesome about Seattle at that time, and still is, Bobby, KJ, and Bruce Irvin were there, and they were 3 guys that even to this day, I still lean on, for advice and just, have conversations just, as a man. So it's that time to have those 3, one, show me, and then also, just be, those figures on the field, is pretty special to me.
And then what went into the decision to say, I'm going to go up to the CFL and make that career there?
Yeah, during that season, I got my Canadian citizenship, and I knew I could be in the draft up there. So when Minnesota released me, it was about a week before the CFL draft, and then at that point, I became like a higher, draft pick, and then I became a first-round draft pick there. And then once Minnesota released me, I had been, cut in that season like 12 or 13 times, and I was just like, I want to play football. So I just decided to, take my, go up to Calgary and take my chance up there.
I'm assuming when you went up there, you brought a little bit more than the snowboarder's jacket this time.
Yeah, after being in Montana for 4 years, I definitely had an arsenal of winter clothes.
And then so now you come back to the NFL to be able to play. What was that opportunity like, and how did that come about? How did you end up here in Philadelphia?
Yeah, so, the 3 years in Canada, I put everything into that. And it was kind of, when you sign a 3-year contract, you don't really know how whatever's going to happen, whether your plans to ever come back in the NFL or not. 3 years is still a long time to, play any contact sport. And so, and luckily we won a championship my last season in Canada. And then so right after we had won, I had about a week of enjoying that. And then it was to the, kind of workout circuits again, kind of that, free agent. You just, come from the CFL. It's not like you're a high priority free agent. You're a guy that's just kind of, hey, I'm knocking on the door again. Hopefully someone lets me in. And, I had 5 workouts, one obviously with Philadelphia, and it ended up being that it felt like the best fit to me and, the best offer. And, so I grabbed it and just ran with it.
You made a good decision, thankfully for everybody. Let me ask you this question before we cut you loose. What is one part of playing linebacker that you feel that not a lot of people talk about, whether it's media, fan base, but it's really, really important to the position?
Man, that's a tough question. I think, being a leader, and I think people talk about it, but, taking control of the defense. It's a tough thing to do, especially, stepping in, in my situation halfway through the season, kind of being a guy that was just a special teamer.
Sure.
You gotta step in as a leader at any level playing linebacker, because you really are the only one that's communicating with the front and the back end all the time. You're the one that's relaying the calls. And I would say that's the biggest thing. I think the media and everybody talk about it, but also I think that that's still the biggest thing that even is unspoken.
And you growing up playing the position your entire life, there are so many people that will say, watch a college safety or, say, oh, you know what, we can move them over to linebacker. Do you feel like that's tough to be able to kind of learn how to be able to, be that field general?
Yeah, and I think that's the toughest thing for people. It's because you can't just focus solely on yourself. You got to worry about all 11 guys around you, because if someone's not right to your left or someone's not right to your right, all of a sudden, you're out of 2 gaps instead of just, having a guy next to you. And so you got to be able to communicate with everybody. And I think it is tough when guys move. And, the guys that do it, man, hats off to them, because, I've been doing this now for 20 years or so, and it's still tough. So the guys that do it halfway through a career is pretty impressive.
Well, Alex, it's been a lot of fun to watch you play. Eagles fans really, really excited about you. Keep it going. We'll catch up with you later right here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com.
Appreciate it. Thank you.